Morning everybody, and Happy New Year to you all. I thought I'd just spend a couple of minutes explaining something that I've not really mentioned before, and that is, if you've ever read my profile, you'll see that I've dedicated it to 4 men that made an impact in my life. And they are Steve Marriott, Lenny Button, Solo Dallas and Norbert Langensiepern. And I think it's fair to say that without these 4 people I probably wouldn't be listening to the music that I am today, or doing what I do on here. Steve Marriott initially was the first person in the mid-60s that actually made me sit up and go, wow. I mean, he sang from the bottom of his heart. I've always been drawn to musicians and singers that sing with an element of soul, and I think Marriott had it all. For a small guy, he really packed a performance into what he did. And I mean, any songs that he sang, particularly about losing his girlfriend or things similar to that, you knew he meant it. He was going to get that guy. There's no way that guy was going to take his girlfriend. Very, very passionate singer. Plus he looked good. I mean, the Small Faces, I was about 12 I suppose when I first came across them, and they had the clothes, they had the attitude, they had the looks, and they really woke me up at the age of 12 to, I suppose, what some of us would think of as mod. For me, it's always been just a certain kind of style that I've been attracted to. Smart casual, if you like. And I owe most of that to Steve Marriott. Now, the second guy is a personal friend of mine that I met when I was about 16. A guy called Lenny Button. And I suppose you could say he was kind of leading light on the scene at the time. He was about 4 or 5 years older than me, and he was the guy that all the girls wanted to be with and all the guys wanted to be. Very charismatic figure, quite striking looking. He had long gingery blonde hair, sometimes had a beard, and looked a bit like a Viking prince. And he always seemed to preempt fashions by about 6 months to a year. I mean, he was wearing satin jackets about a year before Rod Stewart and Mark Bolan, just for an example. But more importantly, he had a fantastic collection of music and literature at his flat, which was a bit of a mecca for us guys back then. Used to meet up at Lenny's for little social gatherings, and he always found time for me and explained what it was he liked about the various bands and artists that he had. Also the books, fantastic collection of books, lots of photography things by David Bailey and Helmut Newton, that type of thing. It's fair to say that without Lenny I probably wouldn't have heard of Tim Buckley, maybe not the Velvet Underground and Kevin Ayers, the Soft Machine, and countless others that he introduced me to. So I have to thank you for that, Lenny, although you're not with us anymore, but you was a major part in my formative years. So cheers, mate. Thirdly, although I've seen many top bands over the years, I've lost count of the gigs I've been to, festivals I attended in the early 70s, and I've seen probably most of the top guitarists of the time, 70s and 80s. But you take the man in the street for granted, I think, and until I saw a couple of guys playing. One was a guy in Crayford that used to play in a local pub there, a guy named Taz, who was a first-class guitarist, and I got to know him quite well about 8-9 years ago. He's now part of OCD Entertainment, which have a channel on YouTube. And more importantly, Norbert Langensiepern, who I just stumbled across while I was on holiday in Portugal back in 2003. I was sitting at a little bar having a cup of coffee one morning, and this guy turned up with a guitar and a small amplifier, and he plugged it into the electricity source at the cafe where we were and started to play. And I was completely blown away. I mean, this guy was as good as anybody I've ever seen. And he made me realise how many people there are out there that haven't made it to the top, are still struggling, still scraping a living together, doing what they enjoy. And those of you that have heard of him before will know that I've got a few of his songs on my channel, and I've actually got 4 of his CDs of music that he produced. I was planning to go back and see him in 2006 on my honeymoon, and found out he died a short time before after a very short illness. He was only 49, but he did make a very, very deep impact on me. That's Norbert Langensieben. Petra, if you're watching, think of you often. And finally, the 4th person, Solo Dallas, who, as most of you know, was the first guy I came across, or first non-professional musician I came across when I first came onto YouTube about 20 months ago. I was looking for things by the Eagles, and I found a few guys covering Hotel California, and something made me click onto AC/DC, who I'd not really listened to for a few years, but I thought I'd have a listen, see what we had available. And I found this guy in a business suit, good looking fella, talking about how to play AC/DC perfectly. And at first I thought it was a joke, until I listened to him playing, and I was completely gobsmacked. I think what it was about Phil that had an impact on me was his charm and his willingness to share his knowledge with other people and to help to improve their playing through his videos and tutorials. And it actually opened a completely new door to me musically, because since then I've not listened to music in the same way that I used to. As I said before, 90% of the music I listen to now is on YouTube, and the majority of it is by unknown people. If you consider the collaborations that have taken place on here over the last 2 years, naming P.R. Boyd and Max Guzzo, just for one instance, 4 guys that have never met before, all playing on one video, all introduced by one another, and it's just a fantastic forum. And as I say, I really owe that to Phil, Solo Dallas, because he was the guy that opened my eyes. So thanks to you, mate. It's been a very very fruitful association so far, and I hope it continues to be so. So all you aspiring musicians out there, keep your ears open and your minds. Have a listen to what the other guys are doing, and if you like what you hear, give them a personal message and maybe do something together. The world is your lobster. Cheers for now, and I'll see you all in the new year.